सदाशिवसमारम्भाम् शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्. I will say that 12th shloka of 12th chapter. श्रेयो हि ज्ञानम् अभ्यासात् ज्ञानात् ध्यानं विशिष्यते ध्यानात् कर्मफलत्यागः त्यागात् शान्ति अनन्तरम्. So Bhagavan has summarized the entire teaching, which we have gone through many times, but it is always a reminder because we should not forget the reason we are doing all this Swadhyaya study, that Abhyas to Shanti, uninterrupted, and there is permanent Shanti. That's what Bhagavan is saying, that Abhyas, then Gyan, Dhyan, and Nididhyasanam, and Karma Phal Tyag and Shanti. That's the path. And then now Arjun's prayer, which is our prayer, Arjun's Prarthana, and that answer to that Prarthana is our Bhagavad Gita entire. So we'll say the same Prarthana for us. When we say the Prarthana, we can assume Bhagavan is standing in front of us and we are like Arjun, because we have the same issue which Arjun had. That's why we are doing this. So our Prarthana to Bhagavan. Karpanya dosho upahat svabhavah prachhami tvam dharma sammudha chetah यच्छ्रेयस्यात् निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेऽहं शाधिमां त्वां प्रपन्नम्. So Arjun is saying that Bhagavan, I am karpanya dosho, means my consciousness is shrinking. Otherwise, our chetana, which is consciousness, is by default, like by nature, chetana is like unlimited. There's no boundary for chetana. But now and we all feel that whenever we ourselves also, whenever we are in, and that's what this chapter is about. Whenever Rajogun and Tamogun are higher, our Chetana shrinks and we feel ourselves that, oh, I'm not the same person, which is, so that's what Arjun have, Karpanya dosh, means my consciousness is shrinking. Upahat Swabhava, and then it is, and that's what we are going to read in this chapter, Swabhava Prakriti, Teen Guna. So he said, I'm forgetting my Swabhava, my identity, my nature. Shishyasteham shadimam tam prapanna. I come to you as a Shishya, please guide me towards Shreyas. And then the entire Bhagavad Gita is answer to that one prayer, 7th shloka of 2nd chapter. So with that, we'll move forward to, we are on 14th chapter, and we saw in the beginning, last 13th chapter was Kshetra. In the entire Bhagavad Gita, there are only two things. If we summarize the teaching, one is anatma, which is impermanent or perishable. That is anatma in Adhyatmic term or Vedantic term. And the second is atma, which is permanent and sanatan. That's why our tradition is sanatan, because atma is sanatan, adequate. Anatma is inadequate, purna or apurna, we can say that. So anatma and atma. The entire Bhagavad Gita is like that. 2nd chapter, Bhagavan talked about Deha Dehi, means Deha is anatma, is impermanent, perishable. Dehi is like Nitya Sanatan, eternal, imperishable. Same thing, Kshetra we saw. In Kshetra there was a question Arjun asked, what about Prakriti and Purush? Same thing, Prakriti is perishable, anatma, and Purush is Atma. It's like that. So that's it. Entire Bhagavad Gita is like that, Atma. And even if, not only Bhagavad Gita, if you go out, is dunya mein, that's it, right? Sab kuch impermanent, we all know that. The only permanent is the me, which is the center of everything. Everything is impermanent. Other than not me as the body, me as that awareness. जिसको हम लोग आत्मा बोलते हैं, consciousness, lot of people name give. A lot of people say universal consciousness, जो भी term लोग use करते हैं. But that is permanent. बाकी सब impermanent है. Anatma है. Atma is only one. And that Atma is in common in all of us. And in fact, this weekend when I was discussing this in Interfaith, I think most of them got that statement. They repeated few times that statement that I say that we are different, but not separate. And I explained to them. And they were really, and in fact, that they came, one lady came to me at the end, he said, that's very true. And I said, that is the truth. That is not very true. That is the only truth. And I gave the shlok from Bhagavad Gita, right? Brahmane gavi hastini shuni shwapake panditasam darshina. And I said, we use the word pandit all over. Everybody knows pandit word these days. And our Shastra said Pandit is one who sees harmony in everyone. That harmony is that Atma, that consciousness. The bodies are different. We are all different, black, white, and Asian, and Caucasian, all those. We are different, but we are not separate. And that's the purpose. In fact, we are meeting as interfaith. I told them, like, that's the reason we are here. Right? So anyway, they liked that. One couple of the people came to me, that's very good. I said, that's coming from our Shastra, right? In Bhagavad Gita. So that's what is that, Atma. So the entire teaching is that eliminate anatma, and what remains is Atma. The process of elimination. That's Atma Gyan. If I eliminate everything which is not Atma, then what remains is Atma, and that is Atma Gyan. Then the whole teaching is done. So that's what 14th chapter is very uniquely placed. And as I said, this is one of my favorite chapters. I love this chapter because there are two chapters. If that's my own, but there are, of course, a lot of people have different good thoughts. But 6th and 14th chapter, in these two chapters, Bhagavan has given the process also. 6th chapter, Atma Sanyam Yoga, and 14th, Gunatraya. In these two chapters, Bhagavan ने बताया भी कि क्या करना. And then all other chapters have little bit here and there, but these two chapters are very clear, lifestyle and क्या करना है. 6 and 14. So if we combine 6 and 14, that's lifestyle. So that's why 14th chapter. In fact, जो हमारी another Gita session is going on class, उसमें after 2nd chapter I took 14th chapter. And then 3rd chapter, 4th. So because 14th chapter is very, very important. If we don't do this sadhana, baki sab, it doesn't matter. It's like Buddha used to say that when people used to come to him for teaching, and he used to say that there are 3 types of people come to me. And he used to give example of ghada, the pot, the clay pot. Pehle clay pot hota tha. One, he used to say that there are people who are upside down. If you put the ghada upside down, doesn't matter how much water you put, nothing is going to go inside. So some of you are like that. And then other are there which are in the normal form, but there are holes inside. And whatever amount of water you put, it will go out. And there are only few of them which are just complete pot. There you can fill the water. So it's like that. If we don't have practice what is in 14th chapter, if Rajogun, Sattvagun are either ulta ghada or with the holes. Not going to work. Kitni Gita padh le, jo bhi kar le. And that is the reason this chapter is very, very, I love this chapter. Anyway, so we'll go to this chapter before very quickly because today is Vijayadashmi, so everybody Shubhkamna Vijayadashmi, and October 2nd also. Typical whenever we talk about October 2nd, Gandhiji's picture come in mind. Of course, he was also a Gita devotee, and he used Bhagavad Gita, and we had talked about Lok Sangra. But there was another gentleman in Bharat which came, Lal Bahadur Shastri. People don't much talk about him, but he used to read Bhagavad Gita every day. And he also used all these, we can say that the spiritual or the activist leader, which are spiritually elevated, they use Bhagavad Gita as, and again, Bhagavad Gita they use for Lok Sangra. And Shastri ji, and if we remember that time, US, same thing, India and Pakistan war was going on, and US put the pressure on India that stop the war, otherwise we'll stop the supply of the wheat, because wheat used to go from here. And we know all that. Is a very famous incident of that time. And he didn't succumb to that. He said, no, we'll take care of ourselves. That time he didn't succumb to US pressure, and they stopped supply. So that's what he gave a call, clarion call to the nation, that can we to to have more resources available to, can we have fast on one day, everybody? And I remember I was 6 years old that time. We used to do fast like Monday evening, and there were restaurants closed on Monday. But he said first he did with his own family for a week or so, and then he realized we are able to do that. Then he called, and that is called Lok Sangra. So people like Shastri ji, they take these teachings, Bhagavad Gita, and apply in their life. That's why he was a very pious person, and people say lived short, but because of these teachings. So they use these teachings and apply in the life, and that is Sattva Guna, basically. And that's what we are going to see in this chapter. So now the second, today is a Vijayadashmi, which is Ravan then. So let's talk about Ravan also. So then Ravan, the same thing. This whole Bhagavad Gita is happening because of Duryodhan. If Duryodhan was not there, we would not be reading this. And Duryodhan was nothing but a product of Rajogun, Tamogun of Dhritarashtra and Gandhari. He was a product of Rajogun and Tamogun of Gandhari and Dhritarashtra. Both were, you have a product now who's completely Tamoguni. Of course, I mean, he used to do sadhana also. But sadhana for what? For Tamogun. Sadhana means Sattva action, but it is not Sattva action, because whole thing is me, my, the Ahankar. And same with Ravan. Ravan was grandson of Pulastha Rishi. And Ravan's father was Vishrava, also Rishi. He was a grandson of Pulastha Rishi, very famous Rishi of that. And Vishrava also, Ravan's father was also. But very short story. So there was a Sumali was Ravan's Nana, like grandfather. He was a Daitya king or demon king. So he told his daughter Kaksi to somehow get married to Vishrava. So that, and he had the plan, like once we have a santan from Vishrava and Kakasi, here is a rishi and he's from Rakshas family, then that person will be very different. And it happened. And then he trained Ravan, his Nana. Actually, Ravan was more influenced by Nana. And he told Ravan that we have to take over Lanka from Kuber. Kuber was the king of Lanka. And by the time he like put all this jealousy and arrogance in Ravan and greed, everything. So one way, first father taught everything to Ravan, Ved and Shastra, because he was a rishi. So Ravan knew everything, Ved, Shastra, everything. And now his Nana taught him to how to take things from demonic like qualities. So here is a character, Ravan. He was very knowledgeable, Shiv Bhakta. He used to do upasana and big upasana, like people, ordinary people cannot do that. That's what Brahmaji and Shivji, he made them please by. But at the same time, his goal was to have everything me, Ahankar. And we know that's a Vijayadashmi, right? That's the reason Bhagavan Ram was born, to stop this Rajogun Tamogun. So we have to have Sattva Gun to stop Rajogun Tamogun. And that is this chapter is about actually. So as Naveen Bhai said in the beginning, then हम सबके अंदर रावण है, हम सबके अंदर रजोगुण तमोगुण है. He was right very in the beginning. And that is the reason we need Sattva Gun to counter. But this whole chapter is about, we'll go into good detail of that. Yeah, so again, we talked about Ravan and Lal Bahadur Shastri, Sattva-guni person here, who's working for the millions of people just to make sure that everybody is protected. And here is a Ravan who had nothing, but he took over the Sri Lanka from Kuber, and then he wanted everything, not only Lanka. He wanted Sita ji also, he wanted. So he had, but at the same time, he had a brother Vibhishan, who was Sattuguni. He never agreed with Ravan, so he got Ram. So Vibhishan got the kingdom from Ram. Ravan got the death from Ram, because here is a Tamogun Rajogun. You are going to lose, and if you have Sattvagun, then you will get Ram. That's whole story is about Sattvagun and Rajogun, Tamogun, Ramayana. So anyway, today is a Vijayadashmi, so it is good. The chapter is also very relevant to October 2nd and Vijayadashmi. So we briefly talked about. Yeah, so now in this 14th chapter, in the beginning, Bhagavan has said, and always Bhagavan said, whenever say that I'm going to give you he says Jnanam Uttamam. Very many places he has used the superlative knowledge. Everything Bhagavan is telling, because one of the reason is Bhagavan is telling Arjun, because Arjun is already a literate person. He knew everything. It's just Bhagavan is polishing and giving little, reminding him, making him little deeper into that. So that's why he says. So he says, I'm going to give in the beginning, Jnanam Jnan Uttamam. I'll give you a knowledge which is very useful. Because in at least 4 or 5 shlok before 14 chapter. Second, there are 2 shlok in second chapter. One is in, I think, 7th or 6th chapter, where Bhagavan has talked about Guna Guneshu Vartante, 5th chapter also. So he has already talked about Arjun, don't worry, this whole cycle is Guna Guneshu Vartante. This Prakriti is working on its own. You are just a player. You are not a controller. And we all have this limitation. We think we are controlling. And whereas Bhagavan says, no, Prakriti has its rule. There is a lot of things. Law of karma is there and sanskar. But it is all Prakriti. So you are not controlling it. And that's what he said, Guna Guneshu Vartante. Many times he has used. But never in the detail. Maybe Bhagavan has realized that it's good. I don't think Arjun needed probably this. This is for us. I'm telling you. This chapter is just for us. Yeah, Arjun may not have needed this detail, but we are so lucky Bhagavan came to this detail. So maybe he has realized that, let me tell exactly what these guna are. And that's what he said. And Arjun probably asked 13th chapter the question that Purush and Prakriti. Maybe that triggered Bhagavan said, okay, let me expand on Prakriti. So this chapter is about Prakriti and three guna of Prakriti. So last time we covered 5th shlok. We'll just move to 6th shlok. 5th, Bhagavan says there are 3 gun, and we Rajas fosters wisdom, harmony, happiness. Tattva, Sattva. Rajas generates the passion which is expressed through attachment and greed. Passion means spraha. Sanskrit word is spraha. And spraha, driving force, if Lok Sangra is then the spraha is a very different meaning. Lok Sangram is well-being of all. Of course, because those people also work hard, right? Vivekanand or Balagangadhar Tilak or Shankaracharya or Rishis, they worked hard. Tapasya, Buddha, Mahavir, they did a lot of tapasya. But the tapasya was not spraha for personal gain. Then that Rajas is a very different thing, because Sattva is more. Rajas is just using as a tool. But if Rajas is the goal, then it comes in the form of attachment and greed, which we all can understand very well. Attachment and greed, गृहस्थ से ज्यादा अच्छा कोई समझ ही नहीं सकता. हम सब गृहस्थ हैं. गृहस्थ को एकदम समझ में आता है अटैचमेंट और ग्रीड क्या है. Like that, the rag, dvesh, and greed, of course, we lobe. And tamas, of course, tamas leads to ignorance, inertia, delusion, depression, all those things, which we all understand these days, everything. So that's what Bhagavan said. Now in sixth shlok onward, Bhagavan is going to go to each gun, and Bhagavan is going to tell the quality of gun and what that gun does, and what is the impact of that gun in our life. These 3 things basically. There is a quality of gun and how it binds. One of the definition of gun is rope. One of the definition. Rope means which binds, basically. So that's why they're saying by default, gun is going to bind. There is a bandhan in gun. Bandhan. And that's what he's going to say in the 6th shlok onwards. But which is very, very relevant to all of us, right? So before we go into a story came to my mind. It's an Native American story, and we read this story in some leadership classes also, and in fact our corporate thing world also. So there was this little kid. He was sitting with his grandfather. It's a Native like American story, and he says that his father was explaining that how the human nature, and his grandfather, and he says that all of us have inside us 2 personalities. And he gave the example, there are 2 wolves inside us. Right? And one is like, say, Rajas and Tamas, and second is Sattva, for example. So the kid asked that, so which one wins? There are 2 wolves, they are going to be fight, right? So who's going to win? And the answer, a very short story. And the answer, grandfather says, the one you feed more wins. Now, same we can apply to Sattvagun, Rajogun, Tamogun. We all have three. Now you feed Sattvagun, the Sattvagun is going to win. If you feed Rajogun, Tamogun, they are going to win. You become Duryodhana or Ravan, you become Vibhishan or Vidur. Duryodhana's uncle was Vidur. He said, I am not going to participate in the war. Bhagwan Krishna, when he came to Hastinapur, Duryodhana arranged a big lunch and he said, I am going to go to lunch at the Vidur's house. Vidur was like Sattva-guni. So choice is ours. So the one you feed, the grandfather's answer, that's going to win. Exactly, this whole chapter is about that, what we feed, right? So yeah, we'll go to sixth shlok of 14th chapter. Tatra sattvam nirmalatvat prakasham anamayam sukha sangena badnati jnana sangena chanagha. I'll read the Hindi part and you can read the English part. हे निष्पाप अर्जुन, उन तीनों गुणों में प्रकाश करने वाला निर्विकार सत्वगुण तो निर्मल होने के कारण सुख की आसक्ति से और ज्ञान की आसक्ति से अर्थात ज्ञान के अभिमान से बांधता है.
Of these, Sattva being stainless is luminous and healthy. It binds through attachment to happiness and attachment to knowledge, O Anaga.
Now, very simple. I mean, when I read this shlok, क्या प्रोफाउंड, जरा छोटी सी बात में उन्होंने बहुत सीधे वन ने क्वालिटी बताई थी कि दिस गुण इज लाइक इट ब्रिंग्स हार्मनी, इट ब्रिंग्स हैप्पीनेस. निर्मल मीन्स द प्योरिटी. प्रकाशम मीन्स एनलाइटनिंग और हार्मनी वी कैन से, राइट, और लाइट. एंड निर्विकार है, इट डजंट अटैच. बट एट द सेम टाइम what is the bondage it creates? And he says sukh sangen jnana sangen. Sukh sangen means comfortable. I am sitting in the mandir and it's very easy to sit in a quiet place where there's no one is talking and I do the puja. It is always good. Why not? But the moment somebody comes, I'm disturbed. You're making noise. This is mandir. What do you do? Sukha sangen. अभी मजा आने लगता है उसमें, comfortable से. And then ज्ञान संज्ञान. We all know that हम लोग तो भगवत गीता भी पढ़ रहे हैं सब. Lot of people have that I know more or I need to know more. And people just like, and I know there is one of my friend in one of the temple, they do Akhand Ramayana part, right? And by the time Akhand Ramayana is over in America, everybody is so tired, but they'll still do that. Or ekbar, it happened that I was with him and I asked, कैसा रहा अखंड रामायण? अरे संजय भाई दिमाग खराब हो गया. I said, what do you mean? अखंड रामायण पाठ किया? Then he said, no, sorry. I said, क्या बात कर रहे हैं? Because he was so tired about managing people. कोई रात में, अरे लोग आते नहीं, रात में साइन अप कर लेते हैं और रात भर हमें बैठना पड़ा. अरे अखंड रामायण का पाठ में, like that is, see, ज्ञान संज्ञेन बदनाति. अखंड रामायण भी बांध देती है आपका दिमाग खराब हो जाता है, झगड़ा हो जाता है. लोग अखंड रामायण करते हैं तो उसमें ज्ञान संज्ञेन बदनाति. सत्वगुण के लिए जा रहे थे आप और झगड़ा हो गया. एंड दैट्स द रीजन वी ऑल फाइट, राइट. मंदिरों में भी झगड़ा होता है. दैट्स भगवान इज सेइंग, राइट. सो दैट्स भगवान से. सो व्हाट ही इज विल कम टू एट द एंड कि व्हाट भगवान मीन्स हियर. सो ही मीन्स हियर अगेन, Bhagavad Gita or all Upanishad teaching, thing is very clear. If you don't understand, then there is a problem. So understanding is the key. That's why it says, like, Shankaracharya ji say, right? Kurute or Jnana Rato, Bhog Rato, Yoga Rato, Sangha Rato, Sangha Vihina. Yasya Brahmani Ramate Chittam Nandati Nandati. So जब तक आपको समझ में नहीं आएगा तब तक आप कुछ भी करो, योग हो भोग, डजंट मैटर. अंडरस्टैंडिंग, जैसे भगवान ने भी बार बार तत्वतः, मेनी टाइम ही यूज द वर्ड तत्वतः, मीन्स अंडरस्टैंड. सो सत्वगुण इज नॉट ए प्रॉब्लम. Our understanding of Sattva is a problem. And that's the reason whole sadhana is there. So anyway, so we'll go to the next one, right? Rajogun. They are all interesting thing, but yeah. रजो रागात्मकं विद्धि तृष्णा संग समुद्भवः तनि निबध्नाति कौन्तेय कर्म संगेन देहिनम्. भगवान इज सेइंग तथा हे अर्जुन, राग रूप रजोगुण को कामना और आसक्ति से उत्पन्न हुआ जान, और इस जीवात्मा को कर्मों की और उनके फल की आसक्ति से बांधता है. यह
Know rajas to be of the nature of passion, the source of thirst and attachment. It binds fast, O Kaunteya, the embodied by attachment to action.
and this is very simple because most of us have good amount of rajogun. So it's very easy to understand this. So ragatmak. So rag is what used in Bhagavad Gita and all our teaching many times. Rag means simple is attachment, but the deeper meaning of rag is very simple, and deeper meaning is that as long as my happiness or my comfort is dependent on something which is other than me, that is rag. I mean, let me repeat. As long as my comfort or my happiness or uh, my good feeling, my good emotions are dependent on something other than me, that is rag. Because I'm dependent on something, I don't want to lose that thing. If I have like a good Charles Schwab account, and the purpose of Charles Schwab account to keep rising, and I don't want to see that the market is down, because that's same thing with our possessions, right? In fact, our Shastra said, even Upanishad says ki your own relatives, your own children, your own spouses, everything more than you love them, you have rag also with that. Prem is fine, you have to have prem, but rag is a problem because you're dependent on them. So you don't want to lose the dependency, and that's the rag. Otherwise, prem is fine. Like you have to love everything. But that's what very, very. So Bhagavan says how it comes out. Trishna sang. Trishna means desire. And desire is, we all see that desire in previous chapter. So because of desire, it is born. And then we saw that, right, Arjun asked the question in third chapter, right? So Bhagavan, what makes us, force us to do all these things? And that time Bhagavan say that, and that's where that was just one glimpse of 14th chapter. Kam esh, krodh esh, rajo guno samadbhava. Bhagavan used that word there, third chapter, rajogun, first time. Second chapter में एक बार किया, rajogun use किया. Kam esh, krodh esh, rajogun samadbhava. ये जो the calm desire, and which is followed by krodh. Krodh means agitation. If desire and agitation, they go together. And Bhagavan said, rajogun samadbhava. उस समय इतना ही बोले थे बस. They are exactly here is explaining here now. Because of rajogun, and rajogun again, rag, and we call it passion and all those things, but Ravan, like I want something. And Ahankar plays a deeper role inside. Ahankar is playing behind the scene. It says Dehinam. Dehinam means the person who has Ahankar. The moment Dehinam word comes, Dehi means attached to body, body identified. Body identification means Ahankar. So Bhagavan is saying Dehinam, the people who identified themselves with the body, which is Ahankar. And Karma Sangen, unko karma se bandhata hai. Because desire or trashna result into karma. You have to do something to acquire that, right? The moment I have a desire, I have to do an action. Ravan wanted Sita, so Ravan has to go and abduct the Sita, right? Like that. Ravan wanted Lanka, he wanted to go and no, he didn't kill, but he removed Kuber from there. So then action is followed. Duryodhan, like, let's go for war. I want Hastinapur. So Bhagavan is saying karma sangen. Then you are bound to do karma. It's not the Sattva-guni person doesn't do the karma, but that is karma is lok sangra. It's very, very clear. Bhagavad Gita is very clear. In Karma Yoga, that's why third chapter we have to thoroughly understand. Bhagavan is not talking about the ordinary karma. Bhagavan is talking about the lok sangra. Ordinary karma, so these people do rajogun. That's what Bhagavan is saying. So that ties. So it's because we don't want to leave whatever the rag I have, and I have to keep doing the karma action again and again, so that I keep that possession, and that is the bandhan of karma. And then there will be a karma phal. And a karma phal is no guarantee of karma phal. No guarantee. It will be maybe in your favor or not favor. Then you get anxiety, depression, stress, and all fighting and everything. So that's Bhagavan is saying. So and we have seen many stories like the people who were like Lok Sangra, they don't want to get in. There is a story, Yayati. There was in Puran, there is a story come. There was a king Yayati. He has 10, I think 10 sons. So he was old, but he wanted to like rule more, but getting old. So he asked someone and some Jyotishi or whatever. Somebody said like that's not very relevant. That if your age is limited, so the only way he said, but how can I live more? I want to rule more. He said the only way someone of your close, your son, can give his age to you. So he said, okay. Then he asked his one son, he said, no, dad, I have so many things, I cannot. Then finally he kept asking the last little kid, he was like maybe 10, he was listening. And every brother, like elder brother said, no, no, no. And then he said, dad, what is the problem here? He said, no, I want to live more. He said, I've seen you all your lives. You are so greedy and you want this thing. And after seeing your nature, like that kid might be sattvic person. I don't want to even live. So take my age. And that's the lesson. Then he said, oh well. Anyway, the story is like, but what do you want to do that, right? That karma. So that's what one is saying. Anyway, so we'll go to the eighth one, which is tamogun, right? तमस्तत् ज्ञानजं विद्धि मोहनं सर्वदेहिनां प्रमादालस्य निद्राभिः तत् निबध्नाति भारत. So Bhagavan is saying, Arjun, सर्वदेहिनाम. Again, देहिनाम word use. देहिनाम is body identified. अहंकार. देहिनाम is अहंकार. देहिनाम मोहने वाले तमोगुण को अज्ञान से उत्पन्न हुआ जान इस जीवात्मा को प्रमाद आलस्य निद्रा के द्वारा बांधता है.
But know tamas to be born of ignorance, the deluder of all embodied. It binds fast through heedlessness, indolence, and sleep, O Bharata.
Yeah. So again, so tamogun bandhata, where tamogun means again the low, and in simple example we can understand in our modern language, intoxicated. There is tamogun. So Bhagavan says the key word here is pramad. Pramad is a very very good Sanskrit word, and the mad is the actually root word mad. उसी से मदिरा आया है. The madira means the alcohol has come from mad. Madiralay उसी से आया है. So Madiralay, mad means alcohol means, I mean, I always read that, I don't drink, but मैं अपने कई फ्रेंड्स को बताता हूँ, उसकी बॉटल पे लिखा हुआ है कि after consuming this your ability to perform normal operation will be impaired. उस पे लिखा रहता है मैं बॉटल पे. And it says कि after consuming this your ability to perform the normal operations will be impaired and you still drink. That is mad. And that is because you like it, right? And everybody knows. I mean, I was known in my friends to drop them home after all these parties because after the party you cannot drive. You're not the same person. And that the pramad word has come from the same. Mad means the intoxicated, which you are not in your control. And pra means emphasis on that word. So pramad ka matlab ye. Pramad means you're completely lost. You forget your identity. And that happens when we have, and that's why they say, like our Shastra says, even krodh is the same thing as intoxication. Krodh may we forget about ourselves. So pramad is anything, and even ahankar. When we have the ahankar is at the peak, I forget myself. And that is pramad. So pramad is a very powerful. And nidra is, of course, nidra means sleep, which is a very low level of tamogun, which we need sometime. And sometimes some people sleep extra, but the key word here is pramad. That is the thing. Pramad from ahankar, it comes from intoxication. So Bhagavan says that is the tamogun type. And then we all know that it's a vicious circle. Sometimes we have twice a year I have a conference in that Three Rivers Casino. Where there is an auditorium. We use that one. So I go there and they give the free ticket after the conference. So you can play some slot and all this. So I go there and see. And you just see that people are sitting There are 12 hours, 16 hours, and somebody says like 18 hours. They're just sitting there. And like, and we had a gentleman here in Pittsburgh. He's no more. He actually was there for a long time. He's our community member. There for 18 hours, and then we came out, and he fell in the parking lot, and he broke his hip, and he was in hospital for a long time. It's so like if you go there, see that, and that's why like it is pramad. So it is vicious, right? So that's what Bhagwan is saying. So we'll go to the ninth, and because every shlok we can go in a lot of detail, but just to summary. कई बार तो हम लोगों ने देखा होगा प्रमाद का मतलब है पीपुल सिट इन द मंदिर एंड सत्संग वी स्लीप राइट निद्रा भगवान कह रहे हैं निद्रा सत्संग में सबसे बढ़िया नींद आती है राइट ऐसा वो एक लेडी यूज्ड टू हिज हस्बैंड वाज नॉट डूइंग गुड एंड मत कुछ करता नहीं था तो उसको सत्संग में ले जाती थी बहुत बार एंड स्वामी जी को लेके आओ सत्संग में उनको अच्छा लगेगा वो बोले नहीं उनको नहीं अच्छा लगता फिर भी ले आओ वो फोर्सफुली शी सेड चलो चलो आप सत्संग में एंड आने लगा तो उसके बाद वो खुश भी रहता तो स्वामी जी ने पूछा क्या आपको लगता है मजा आ रहा बोला हाँ बहुत मजा आ रहा स्वामी जी आई एम वेरी हैप्पी बोले अच्छा तो क्या हो कैसे मजा आ रहा मतलब कुछ नई चीज सीखी बोला नहीं नींद बहुत बढ़िया आती है सत्संग आई एम वेरी हेल्दी सो ये सबसे बढ़िया नींद आती है सत्संग में मैं तो आई एम मतलब पब्लिक स्पीकर तो मैं जब बोलता हूँ मैं कई बार देखता रहता हूँ आई कैन सी दैट पीपल आराम से दे कैन टेक 10 minutes nap and then come back it's like that because you it is like that right so that's what that is actually and that is the reason because if I have the desire if I go suppose to a Ramayana or any satsang or bhajan if I have that intense desire to have that anand then I won't get the sleep हमारी प्रॉब्लम है कि वी आर नॉट आई एम नॉट इवन कन्विंस्ड सो दैट्स द या तो फोर्सफुली कोई ले जाता है तो आप सोते हो या फिर आपके अंदर से दी डोंट हैव दैट सत्वगुणी इंक्विजिटिवनेस लाइक जिसे जिज्ञासा बोलते हैं then you will sleep. So that's what Bhagavan is saying. That is tamogun actually. That we all have is like that. So yeah, we'll go to the ninth slok. Waste time. Sattvam sukhe sanjayati. Ninth slok. Rajah karmani bharata. Jnanam avratya tu tamah. Pramade sanjayatyut. हे अर्जुन सत्वगुण सुख में लगाता है रजोगुण कर्म में और तमोगुण तो ज्ञान को आच्छादन करके ढके हुए प्रमाद में भी लगाता है
Sattva attaches to happiness, Rajas to action, O Bharata, while Tamas, indeed, having veiled knowledge, attaches to heedlessness.
Yeah, he has just summarized all previous three shlokas here. And it's very simple. The example is given in one of the, I think, I don't remember where I read, but yeah, the example was very good that if there is a mirror there and you are in front of mirror, you are that awareness, Sakshi, which is pure. By default, we should be pure, right? So you look at in front of the mirror, if mirror is very clean, like the fresh mirror, you see yourself as it is. If mirror is shaking, then you still see yourself in the mirror, but it is not clear image. That is Rajogun. If the mirror is dirty, it's all black on that top of or dirt, then you see a fake image of yourself. You know there is someone, but you don't know even you are yourself. That is tamas. What a nice analogy, right? Clean mirror is sattva, the shaking mirror is rajas, and the dirty mirror is tamas. And you are same. That sakshi is same. But just because of this layer of these things, I become like powered by sattvagun or rajagun or tamogun. Same image. So that's what Bhagavan is saying. We'll read 10th shlok also and then yeah, few more minutes. रजस्तमश्चाभिभूयं सत्वं भवति भारत रजः सत्वं तमश्चैव तमः सत्वं रजस्तथा और this is a very good shlok actually and it says भगवान कि हे अर्जुन रजोगुण और तमोगुण को दबाकर सत्वगुण ऊपर बढ़ता है रजोगुण सत्वगुण को दबाकर तमोगुण बढ़ता है वैसे ही तमोगुण और सत्वगुण को दबाकर रजोगुण बढ़ता है
Sattva arises having predominated over Rajas and Tamas, O Bharata, and Rajas over Sattva and Tamas, even so Tamas over Sattva and Rajas.
Yeah, now this is a very good, Even our Ayurveda, if you read Ayurveda has three things like dosh, vat, pitta, kapha, and sattva. I mean, and I have like met some people in Bharat in Ayurveda. I went for that my panchakram karma. तो I met वो स्टूडेंट थे थोड़े वो लाइक सीनियर स्टूडेंट थे और एक टीचर भी थे उनको दे हैव नो क्लू अबाउट दिस गुण सत्व गुण दे आर ऑल फोकस्ड ऑन दोस प्रोसेसेस कि वो शिरोधारा ये विच इज फाइन आई मीन दे आर सो आई रियलाइज they are all focusing on the body but the whole teaching is out not about the body the whole teaching is उनको सबको भगवत गीता पढ़नी चाहिए आयुर्वेद वालों को Ayurveda, and I had talked to a lot of Ayurveda, my friends also. They have no clue about what Bhagavan is saying here. They just know that, oh, we have to balance it. Balance what? But they are focusing on the body. Vat pitta kaf pe to they are control ki aapko kuch karenge da. But now it is out about the psychological, all these three things at the psychological level. Vat pitta kaf are at the bodily level, which is fine. We have to balance. So this is all psychological treatment. What psychological Bhagavan is explaining. And he is giving the treatment also. So Bhagavan is saying that we all know that it is science. Ayurveda is a science that we all have three because it is Prakriti ka nature and we are made of Prakriti. And 7th chapter Bhagavan has explained 13th chapter. So we are bound to have all three. Sattva bhi hoga, Rajas bhi hoga, Tamas. Tamas we need if you have to sleep. I need Tamas to sleep. Rajas means I had to do some activity. But which is predominant? That is the key. So Ravan has lot of Rajas and Tamas. But his Sattva is so low that dominant was Rajas. And so that's what Bhagavan is saying. Tamogun, Rajogun will take over Sattvagun if you don't properly balance. If you don't do sadhana, then Sattvagun, Rajogun Tamogun will take over Rajas. Thoda Sattva hoga aap mein, lekin it'll take over. Like the example, those people went to Swamiji and somebody took them like Rajas Tamas उनमें बहुत था तो चलो चलो स्वामी जी के पास जाते हैं कोई अच्छी बात बताएंगे वो तो they went to Swamiji also know these people are very rajoguni tamoguni तो before even they said that he said typically स्वामी जी लोगों की आदत होती है वो पहले ही सॉल्यूशन बता देते हैं आजकल हमारे सब गुरु लोगों को पहले से because everybody is interested in the solution रजोगुण की खूबी यही है सॉल्यूशन बताइए मुझे साधना आधना ठीक है नहीं अभी क्या अभी डायरेक्ट क्या है अभी ये अंगूठी पहनो एक कुछ ये माला गले में डालो ये करो तो स्वामी जी ने बोला मुझे पता है आप लोगों की प्रॉब्लम क्या है आप लोगों को रजोगुण और ये जो बुरे विचार हैं बहुत सताते हैं उसने कहा स्वामी जी प्रॉब्लम ये नहीं है प्रॉब्लम ये बुरे विचार हमें बहुत मजा देते हैं सताते नहीं है दैट इज अवर प्रॉब्लम इट इज नॉट सो वो सो दैट इज व्हाट भगवान इज सेइंग हियर कि अगर आप कंट्रोल नहीं करोगे तो मजा देने लग जाएंगे and that becomes addiction. Addiction की परिभाषा ही है. We know the definition of addiction is you start enjoying that. आपको like you all know like अभी डॉक्टर हैं आप लोग की see the all those steroids are prescription drugs and you know like चित्तू भाई अभी आज है नहीं but he used to be, he was the director of the Columbus Veteran Hospital and he used to tell that very difficult for him to night time not people come and give me the prescription. आपको तो पता ही like they force it. Give me the prescription. I need it now. मैं downtown में I take a walk. There is a park behind. And मैं कभी-कभी खड़ा देखता हूँ young people daytime during they are just completely drug and they are not able to walk and they are sitting under the bridge. It's like that because this is all it takes over. That's addiction. So same thing. It is not about just the drug addiction. The hankar is addiction. मैं is addiction. मैं जो भी अच्छा काम भी करने जाते हैं लोग तो मैं अच्छा काम कर रहा हूँ. That is also same as toxication. So that's what Bhagavan is saying. It takes over. Be careful. But at the same time, he is giving that कि सत्वगुण अगर predominant होगा तो सत्वगुण these two cannot but predominant होगा तो then you will need rajas. You will need rajas to otherwise how you will get up in the morning. यू नीड रजस राइट इसलिए हम लोग उठते हैं सबसे पहले तो हमारे यहाँ बचपन से सिखाते हैं उठ के सबसे पहले कराग्रे वसते लक्ष्मी कर्म मध्य सरस्वती कर मूल्य तो गोविंदा प्रभाते कर दर्शनम इन हाथों से कर्म करना है सत्व गुण इज टेलिंग यू टू यूज रजोगुण या रजोगुण नीड कर्म करना है एंड दैट्स व्हाई वी आर संध्या वंदनम मैं तो बिग प्रमोटर संध्या वंदनम 3 times शाम को भी करना है बिकॉज शाम तक रजोगुण तमोगुण इज वेरी हाई I'm frustrated, my day is bad, and people don't listen, and people are crazy, and all those kind of news, government is shut down, and all those things. By evening, tamogun is so high, right? Do sadhana, sandhya vandanam, do swadhyaya. And that's what Bhagavan is saying. So if you maintain that level of sattvagun, then you automatically rajogun and tamogun will going to play their required part. They're required. There is no doubt. But only because the controller is sattvagun. That awareness. If I have Shivji, like Durga ji, we just Navratri went. Durga ji had to kill Mahishasur, and then she took the fierce form. But Durga is aware that why I'm taking the fierce form. He's a Rakshas here. That's why I'm fearful. But I am still Mata. वो भी कितने ये दुर्गा जी के मैं सप्तशती पढ़ता हूँ, ये ललिता सहस्त्रनाम, क्या प्यारा एक एक फॉर्म का बढ़िया सा वर्णन है. कहीं वात्सल्य है, कहीं वल्लभा है, कहीं कालरात्रि है, डिपेंडिंग ऑन द सिचुएशन. बट दुर्गा इज अवेयर कंप्लीटली why I am taking these forms. Because there is that Rakshas, Rakta Beej, so I had to become Kali to take the Rakta from the Rakshas. But at the same time, I am Parvati as a Mata. That is awareness. So Sattvagun is like that awareness. So Bhagavan is saying in very nice श्लोक, श्लोक में भगवान ने प्रॉमिस भी कर दिया है कि डोंट वरी, डोंट बी अफ्रेड ऑफ रजोगुण एंड तमोगुण, सत्वगुण पे काम करो. And we'll talk about as we move forward. Bhagavan is going to take beyond that too. That is the ultimate goal. So रजोगुण और सत्वगुण, इवन सत्वगुण में शुरू में बताया वो भी बांधता है ज्ञान सुख संज्ञान एंड ज्ञान संज्ञान. So we have to be careful too. If I am not aware, then even I get tangled into that कि मेरा नाम लगा हुआ मंदिर में, भाई प्रॉब्लम है. My donation, where is my name? It's like that. अभी इतना डोनेशन दिया, रिसीट नहीं दी किसी ने, रिसीट नहीं आई डोनेशन की, then I have a problem, right? I have to file taxes, right? So it's like that. So सत्वगुण बांधता है, and we have seen, like we all know that, right? So this person is beyond that. We'll talk about that. That's भगवान का सबसे प्यारा पर्सन वो ये गुणातीत भव अर्जुन. He says that की. So and this is called Maya. इसके लिए प्रकृति को माया बोला है. इन तीनों गुणों का जो समुच्चय या जो कॉम्बिनेशन है, constituents ऑफ लाइक जो तीनों गुणों का मिला के, दैट इज माया. एंड इसीलिए हम लोगों ने, भगवान ने बोले ये सब, ये रजोगुण सत्वगुण तीनों त्रिगुणी माया बोलते हैं, हमारे टर्म यूज करते हैं. So we'll stop here. We'll continue from next time. We'll come. Same is Bhagavan is going to give any different. Another example of Rajogun and Sattvagun is recently I went there, casino में गया था. तो you see the combination of Rajogun and Tamogun वहाँ पर, like कुछ वो अल्कोहल भी चल रही है और इधर स्मोकिंग एरिया अलग है, और उसके बाद people are constantly enjoying, and you can see people are like, oh, you got it, poker चल रहा है. It's a very good like depiction of Rajogun and Tamogun. You can see that, right? And that is right in the places, and that happens in our life also. It's not only casino, but at home also. We get into all these Rajogun, Tamogun, and then they overtake. So our goal is to work on Sattvagun. And there are various ways. स्वाध्याय हम लोग जो करते ही हैं, स्वाध्याय, सत्संग, भजन, but there are various ways. I mean, that's what. So one of the shlok in Bhagavad Gita, which is very nicely, Bhagavan has said that 59 shlok of the second chapter, where very, very nicely. I mean, there are many places, but one shlok we can say very, very clearly Bhagavan has defined how to overcome that in one shlok. That is 59 shlok. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehina, which is 59th shlok of second chapter. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehina rasvarjam rasopyasya param drashtva nivartate. Bhagavan is saying the Vishaya means ye prakriti, ye rajogun, tamogun, these are Vishaya. Vishaya means objects of the world, which is prakriti. Bhagavan says, even if you withdraw from the Vishaya, if you withdraw from the world, you think still they're lingering in the mind. It's like hangover. Hangover रहता ही है. आपने सोच लिया कि चलो आंख बंद करके बैठे हैं अभी तो मैं, बट आंख बंद करके वहीं चले जाएंगे आप वापस. So that hangover is still there. भगवान से रस वर्जम, रस नहीं जाता है. रस मीन्स हैंगओवर. रस मीन्स द जूस स्टिल देयर, वर्जम वो नहीं जाता है। भगवान कहते हैं वो जो विषयों का रस है, गुलाब जामुन का टेस्ट फिर भी आता रहेगा आंख बंद करने के बाद। आई एम डूइंग नवरात्रि व्रत, पर आंख बंद करी तो गुलाब जामुन का टेस्ट आ ही जाएगा। दैट डजंट गो ऑन। भगवान से द ओनली पर्सन रसो अप्यस्य, रस भी चला जाता है उस आदमी का, परम दृष्टा निवर्तते, जिसने परम दृष्टा मीन्स क्षेत्रज्ञ, वी सॉ इन 13 चैप्टर, द वन हु हैज बिकम क्षेत्रज्ञ, दैट इज परम दृष्टा। यू फाइंड योरसेल्फ, आई एम दैट, तत्वमसि, देयर इज नथिंग। एंड भगवान से उसका रस भी चला जाता है, रसो रसो अप्यस, उसका रस भी चला जाता है, परम दृष्टा क्षेत्रज्ञ, विच इज आत्मज्ञान। वेरी, सो भगवान हैज गिवन मेथड्स इन सेकंड चैप्टर, मेनी अदर प्लेसेस, बट सेकंड चैप्टर में, एंड देन उस 61 श्लोक में भगवान से तानि सर्वाणि संयम्य युक्त आसीत मत्पर वशे ही यस्य इंद्रियाणि तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता, युक्त आसीत मत्पर, मेरे परायण मीन्स सरेंडर टू मी। सरेंडर टू मी इज नॉट भगवान किसी को जाके अपना सिर डालना है, टीचिंग। Surrender means what? Follow the teaching. That is surrender. Nothing. What is else is surrender? Bhagwan is saying. So we'll continue. So तुलसीदास जी का माया पे जो दोहा है वो पढ़ते हैं, and then we'll stop here in few minutes maybe if Naveen bhai wants to add. But let me read that. तुलसीदास माया, ये जो त्रिगुणमयी माया है, तुलसीदास जी सॉरी कबीरदास जी ने बहुत अच्छा बताया। माया महाठगनी हम जानी, ठगने वाली मीन्स इट इज चीट, माया चीट्स, राइट, विदाउट यू नो। ठग, ठग का मतलब होता है जो आप विदाउट इवन यू नो यू आर चीटेड, दैट इज ठग। ठग जो होते हैं रॉबर इज लाइक दैट, कि आपको पता नहीं चलता है बट यू आर रॉब्ड। सो महाठगनी हम जानी, त्रिगुण फांस लिए बन डोली, त्रिगुण फांस में ये त्रिगुणमयी माया, तीनों गुण को लेके, फांस मीन्स नूस, वो नूस लेके घूमती रहती है आपके गले में डालने के लिए। महाठगनी, त्रिगुण, त्रिगुण फांस लिए बन डोली, बोले मधुर बानी, बड़ी मीठी मीठी बात करती है। आई मीन यू विल लूड बाय दैट, राइट। एंड देन जैसे अभी इफ यू सी द एडवर्टिजमेंट जो दिखाते हैं बड़े बड़े, आज सुबह न्यूज में देयर वाज अ न्यूज एंड इट्स अ फनी न्यूज, नेशनल न्यूज में था। दे आर सेइंग दैट those kids who, little toddlers, I don't know from where they get this, little toddlers, if you have a pet at home, and by the age of 1 year or 1.5, 2 year, if there is a pet at home, then when they become later age, they become immune to asthma, because that, because of the whatever pet releases, they become more immune. Now you, what kind of a difference is? Now you take the pet, right? It's like, so रजोगुण कुछ भी करा लेता है, ऐसे एडवर्टीजमेंट, सो दैट लूर दैट, जैसे बोले मधुर बानी, किसी के घर हीरा बन बैठी और किसी के घर कोड़ी कानी। हीरा मीन्स यू बिकम वेरी वेल्दी, एंड किसी के घर डिसेबिलिटी आ जाती है। एंड वी डोंट, डिसेबिलिटी, सेम हाउस, वन पर्सन इज हेल्दी, वन इज डिसेबल्ड इन सेम हाउस। सो किसी के घर हीरा बन बैठी, किसी के घर कोड़ी कानी में डिसेबिलिटी, मूड के मंदिर में बैठी। वो कबीरदास जी इज वेरी क्लियर कि मंदिर में भी माया हो जाती है लोगों को, वो मूड है जिसको मंदिर में माया हो जाती है। मंदिर तो माया छुड़ाने की जगह है, मंदिर जाते इसलिए कि माया से छूट जाए, मंदिर में जाकर माया और पकड़ लेती है। तो दैट्स व्हाई से वो मूड है। तीर्थ, तीर्थ में बन पानी, लोग तीर्थ यात्रा करते हैं माया से छूटने के लिए, वो माया पकड़ लेती है तीर्थ यात्रा में। गंगा जल लेकर यहाँ झगड़ा हो जाता है, आई हैव टू टेक द गंगा जल फ्रॉम देयर। अरे गए थे माया छोड़ने के लिए, गंगा जल पकड़ लिया, माया है, राइट। कबीर जी कहते हैं, कहे कबीर सुनो भाई साधु, माया की अकत कहानी, इट कैन नॉट बी डिस्क्राइब्ड। ही सेइंग अकत मीन्स आई कैन नॉट डिस्क्राइब। इतना बोलने के बाद भी कबीर जी कह रहे हैं, कहत कबीर सुनो भाई साधु, माया की अकत कहानी, मैं तो नहीं सुना सकता हूँ इतना सब बोलने के बाद, इट इज सो टफ। So with that, we'll stop here. Naveen bhai, if you want to add something, otherwise we'll just do quick dhyan, and then we'll Maya पे खत्म करते हैं।
I, I don't want to add something, but I think, for all of us, I think you're making it very clear. One thing is very clear to us is, Sthita Pragya or Kshetragya or Jnani or, the Bhakta. And this another word which is going to come in here in this chapter is Gunatit.
Yep.
And, the way Bhagwan has defining and just giving pros and cons of everything and how each guna is binding us. He is advising us that, you try to find out where you fall in and how you control or how can you control your gunas and can become a gunatit. You don't even need sattva gun, and there is never a balance of it. It's either, they are always, not balanced form. So the goal of the life is to become gunatit, the same way, sthita pragya or jnani is described. And the other thing is we all have all three gunas, and then you never try to use this chapter to analyze somebody else. It is for
Yeah,
you
that
only.
is true, right? That is
It is
Rajogun.
not for anybody else.
That is Rajogun.
Evaluation of self,
Is
not
Rajogun, right?
anybody else,
Yeah,
is
exactly.
what
Yeah,
important part of
I know that's good. So yeah, so let's do our again. Dhyan is being in dhyan, not doing dhyan. Being in dhyan is the one of the best way to raise sattva gun. And there is all some of you are from the medical field, Chitu bhai to expert in uske. It's again like there is a science, we get the better chemicals, and I do it in my work, and everybody loves that. And I don't talk about this gun, but the same way I talk about this gun in a very different way. It will create all those happy chemicals in the body, right? Serotonin, and you reduce the cortisol level, you reduce the dopamine, balanced of dopamine, right? We need dopamine, but it says, see, same thing Bhagwan is saying. Ayurveda, that's why Ayurveda got it. But वो आयुर्वेद वालों को भी ठीक से पता नहीं. मैं उनसे पूछता हूँ, ठीक से पढ़ो, इसमें क्या लिखा है, लोगों को समझाओ. खाली दवाई देने के लिए आयुर्वेद नहीं है. Ayurveda is just to make people psychologically strong, right? Anyway, so that is Lakshman ji को वो lesson देंगे बाद में. अभी तो so let's do our let's do it Taman Dhyan, and then we'll stop, right? Same again, starting from Panch Tattva, Panch Indriya to Sakshi Chaitanya. Keep the focus on the tip of the nostril and bring image of Prithvi Tattva. Shift focus to the tip of the tongue and bring image of Jal Tattva. Shift image, focus to the eyes and bring off image of Agni Tattva, Surya Bhagwan. Shift focus to the skin and feel Vayu Tattva, which is wind on skin. We can feel wind or air on skin. So Vayu, Pavan Devata. Shift focus to the ear and think of, feel the sound or space around us. And all these elements are outside also and inside. We are made of Prakriti. So they are outside and they are inside us also. And that's where the harmony between the body and the Prakriti. But as we saw in this chapter, our goal is to rise from Prakriti to Purush. So by doing this, the Rajogun is by when the senses are quietened, Rajogun is reduced, Tamogun is reduced, and automatically Sattvagun will become prominent. And this time, if we think that I am not this body, I am not the senses, I am not, and remember, we have to remember the shlok, Gata Suna Chananu Shochanti Pandita. What is gone, just forget about that. What is going to come, just don't worry about that. Pandit is who is in the present. So the present means there is no thought. And where there is no thought, the only thing remains is awareness, and that is Sakshi Chaitanya. And Bhagavan says, that is you. Yuktasi Matpara means you and me are the same at this state. So in this state, whatever I feel is just the awareness. And by doing this, slowly, Sattvagun become more prominent, and then we'll see the benefit of Sattvagun as we move forward, right? Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Boli Krishna Kanhaiya Lal ki Jai. Hari Om. Yeah, so we'll continue next week with this. Every chapter is wonderful.